Who's on the rise after the combine?
Matthew Golden, I think, is one of the best receivers in this class. He's a lock to be a first-round pick.
Let's break down the biggest risers and fallers in the 2025 NFL Draft Class. Rising, Landon Jackson, DE, Arkansas. You want to make yourself some money at the combine as a defensive end? Try putting on an athletic display that draws comparisons to the likes of Myles Garrett. Landon Jackson, the freakishly athletic edge rusher out of Arkansas, had himself a day in Indy. The 6'6", 264-pounder posted the best vertical jump of the day at 40.5 inches, marking the best vertical for a defensive lineman weighing 260 pounds or more since the aforementioned Garrett hit 41 inches in 2017. Jackson's impressive performance didn't stop there, though. He also got that massive frame moving on the 40, delivering a 4.68-second 40-yard dash and notching a 10-foot, 9-inch broad jump. All the credit to Jackson for one heck of a performance. He showed up and checked every single box. His name just got a whole lot more interesting in the first-round conversation. Falling, Shemar Stewart, DE, Texas A&M. Stewart's afternoon got off to a great start. The Texas A&M product threw down an impressive 10'11" broad jump and then posted a 40-inch vertical. For the first half of the combine, Stewart was looking like the biggest winner of the group. That was until it all came crashing down. On his first 40 attempt, he pulled up short, grabbing at his hamstring, and whew, just like that, his day was over. Now, hamstring tweaks aren't career-altering, and no one's expecting this to tank his draft stock. But for a guy whose appeal is built entirely around his athletic upside, this certainly raises some questions. Did he push too hard? Is he durable enough to handle an NFL workload? Or was this just a bit of bad luck? Rising, James Pierce Jr., DE, Tennessee. If his performance at the combine wasn't impressive enough on the metric alone, how about the fact that James Pierce Jr. showed up in a hoodie after forgetting his official combine shirt in his hotel, and then proceeded to torch the 40-yard dash like nobody's business? That's right, a 4.47-second 40, making him the fastest defensive lineman in this year's combine. At 6'5", 245 pounds, Pierce was already seen as a first-round talent. But now, we might be talking a top 15 lock. Heck, maybe even higher. Teams are always on the hunt for a speed rusher who can stress tackles off the edge. And Pierce just proved that he's got that burst in spades. Beyond just the raw speed, Pierce looked incredibly fluid in drills, showing clean change of direction skills, strong bend, and the ability to maintain his momentum through contact. That is the kind of movement that separates guys who just test well from guys who actually win reps in the league. He is climbing draft boards fast. Falling, Isaiah Bond, WR, Texas. Long before this year's combine, Bond set the bar sky high, posting on Instagram 4.20 next year, a direct challenge to Xavier Worthy's record-breaking 4.21-second 40-yard dash from a year ago. So if you're gonna call your shot, you better not miss. Well, Bond must have missed that part of the training because he stepped onto the turf, lined up for a sprint, and clocked a 4.39. A good time, of course, but not exactly close to that historic one that he was so boldly after. Yeesh, talk about mismanaging expectations. This isn't to say that Bond torpedoed his stock. I mean, he's still a talented receiver with legitimate deep speed. But when you promise the world and deliver something that doesn't live up to the hype, well, scouts start picking apart the rest of your game. Rising, Jack Besh, WR, TCU. Jack Besh didn't just put together a strong combine, he's been stacking wins ever since the Senior Bowl. The 6'1", 214-pound receiver might not be a burner, but what he lacks in pure straight line speed, he makes up for with polished route running, strong hands, and crisp footwork. While Besh didn't run the 40-yard dash, he was 14th among receivers in the vertical jump, 34.5 inches, and tied for 7th in the broad jump, 10 feet 5 inches. And more importantly, he shined in the agility drills, showing exactly the kind of skill set that translates to success in the league. He's been flying under the radar in a deep wide receiver class, but with some of the bigger names struggling to separate from the pack, Besh has seized the opportunity. Falling, Jack Sawyer, Edge, Ohio State. Jack Sawyer's combine got off to a rough start before he even hit the field. First, his arm length measured at just 31 3/4 inches, a brutal number for an edge rusher. That's the kind of measurable that makes certain teams take him off their board completely. Sawyer also skipped the 40-yard dash, leaving scouts with even more questions than answers. Now, to his credit, he did look pretty dang sharp in drills. Smooth movement, good balance, and a technically sound approach to each rep. But the problem is, when you come into the combine as a guy who needs to prove himself physically, you have to take every opportunity to do so. Sawyer's film is solid, But in a deep edge class where teams are looking for every reason to differentiate prospects, he might have just let some guys leapfrog him here. Rising, Lui Olad Deo, LB, UCLA. It's not often a linebacker walks into the combine with project written all over him and walks out looking like a plug-and-play defender. But that's exactly what happened with Olad Deo. The general consensus coming out of the combine was that Olad Deo might have just forced scouts to reevaluate his ceiling. At 6'3", 245 pounds, the former safety-turned linebacker came into the combine as a fringe prospect. Athletic, but raw. But now, he's being viewed as a guy that could come in and make a difference on a defense in year one. The modern NFL demands versatility at the second level. Guys who can cover tight ends, rush the passer, and still hold up in the run game. Olad Deo has proved that he checks every single box. He clocked a 4.56 second 40-yard dash, broad jump 10 feet, and looked incredibly fluid in change of direction drills. His footwork and coverage mirrored that of a defensive back, and his closing speed in the gauntlet drill was a major eye-opener. If the combine was any indication, he is way ahead of schedule. Falling, Smael Mondon Jr., LB, Georgia. Smael Mondon Jr. put together a performance at the combine that got scouts talking, just not all in the right way. During the shuffle, sprint, and change of direction drill, Mondon went to catch a pass and took a football square to the face. And not just a glancing blow, but more of a full contact football to the eyeball moment that immediately turned him into a meme on NFL Draft Twitter.
In the face! In the face!
He walked toward the sideline holding his face, visibly shaken. Obviously, an embarrassing moment, and not a great signal for his ability in coverage. Though it isn't the end of the world, considering he's a linebacker and not a wide receiver. But hey, perception matters at the combine, and little moments like that tend to stick in scouts' minds.
Hans Moleman Productions presents Man Getting Hit by Football.
Rising, Matthew Golden, WR, Texas. Speed kills in the NFL. And Matthew Golden just showed that he's got more than enough of it. The Texas wideout came into the combine as a guy firmly in the second tier of receivers. Talented, but sitting behind the bigger names. But after he torched the 40-yard dash with a blistering 4.29 speed, scouts might have to reevaluate where he stands in the pecking order. Golden isn't just a straight line burner either. His route running looked sharp, his hands were reliable, and his agility numbers backed up what he's shown on film. Quick, explosive, and able to create separation at all levels of the field. And in a league that values speed more than ever, don't be shocked if a team in need of a deep threat pounces on him earlier than expected. Falling, Abdul Carter, DE, Penn State. While Abdul Carter is a popular name among NFL scouts, there hasn't been a clear consensus on where he should go in the first round. His showing at the combine, or lack thereof, as he missed it entirely, definitely did not help him. After all, it is never a good sign when the biggest takeaway from your combine is that you didn't participate. Carter sat out due to a lingering shoulder injury that he suffered in the Fiesta Bowl, which wasn't ideal. But then tests on Wednesday revealed a stress reaction in his right foot, an issue that could require surgery. For a guy whose game is built on explosive power and relentless effort, that's gonna be a red flag for some teams, and they're not gonna be able to ignore it. He's still projected to go in the top 5 given his impressive resume to date, but still, this was a tough look for Carter, regardless of whether he had a nagging injury or not. Rising, Nick Emmanwori, safety, South Carolina. Every year, there's a defensive back who shows up at the combine and makes teams completely rethink where they had him on their draft board. This year, that guy was Nick Emmanwori. Coming out of South Carolina, Emmanwori already had a reputation as a rangy, hard-hitting safety who could match up with the tight ends and slot receivers. But what he did in Indy took his stock to another level. At 6'3", 220 pounds, the All-American safety blistered the 40-yard dash in an official 4.38 seconds and had a staggering 43-inch vertical jump and 11'6" standing broad jump to go with smooth work and position drills. More than just the raw athleticism, Emmanwori looked incredibly smooth in drills, showing fluid hips, quick change of direction ability, and strong ball tracking skills. If there were any questions about whether he could be a first-round pick, well, they were just answered. Falling, Mason Graham, DL, Michigan. There was a lot of hype around Michigan's defensive line over the past couple of seasons, and with pretty good reason. They were one of the most dominant units that we've seen in recent memory. And while that should have boded well for the players that line was comprised of, Graham might have just let some of that momentum slip through his fingers by choosing to opt out most of the field workouts at the 2025 NFL Combine. Only choosing to do the bench press, which which is one of the least consequential tests of the entire day. At this point, it's still likely that he goes into the top 10. Heck, if not even the top 5. But there are definitely some flags raised by his unwillingness to participate in the NFL's top showcase event. But hey, which players do you think most helped their draft stock at the Combine? Who do you think fell the most? Who do you think we got right here? What do you think we got wrong? Was there anyone that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, then clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.